Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be doing an OMNIKNIGHT replay analysis. This is currently one of the highest win rate supports of 7.31b, and so I'd like to give you guys a crash course on how to essentially play this hero that has some of the best base stats in the game and some pretty crazy skills. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like, literally, with the gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below, I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. Alright, so first things first, let's talk about rune trading and trading in general. The first thing you want to understand is Heavenly Grace as an ability. It's a purge and it gives strength and HP regen. On top of that, if you purge an ability, it gives you more strength and more HP regen. So it's particularly important to use it when you are affected by something like Cinderbrew. And so you'll see in this upcoming clip here, he's going to be affected by what is seemingly Orb of Venom. And Shield Crash. So he's affected by Shield Crash and Orb of Venom. Honestly, apparently Orb of Venom counts as something you can dispel, because when you cast Heavenly Grace, well, or when he casts it here, it gives him 14 strength. On top of that, that means he's gonna get a bonus extra 6 HP regen as well, which is freaking massive. It's freaking massive, it's huge. And so, it's crazy that Orb of Venom counts, but every single thing that you can possibly dispel, if you dispel it, you get that bonus HP and that bonus strength. That strength also turns into damage for any strength hero, which OMNIKNIGHT is, so he's currently hitting for 73. Which is why when Brewmaster backs off, he begins to trade with the Pango. You have very good armor, you're a melee hero, and if you purge things, or just if you cast your W, you hit really hard, and you should take advantage of that. As we continue on, the main thing you guys should keep in mind about Heavenly Grace in this current patch is that it currently works on who you cast it on and yourself. So if you cast it on Ursa, you get the buff as well. So basically you should never cast this ability only on yourself unless there's no teammates in the nearby vicinity. So let's say he wants to trade with Brewmaster here, what he should do is click it on Ursa, as he does, and then chase down the Brewmaster. This is the main idea here. Other than that, basically if you take this ability to purge things in lanes where there are things to purge, this is what you do. You click your W and you trade. From what I've seen from this player, he likes to take W in a huge majority of games to basically get the bonus strength and HP regen to trade early on. However, I've also seen plenty of players take Hammer of Purity early on, which is a 10-second cooldown, nuke and slow, and it does about 70 damage, which is pretty significant for a 10-second cooldown and practically 0 mana. And this is the main gist of OMNIKNIGHT right now in the laning stage, so I don't have to say too much more about it. Essentially, when you hit level 2 and you have 1 point in Grace and 1 point in your Hammer, you just chase people down. These position 4s like Rubik and Grimstroke and Shaman will just get absolutely destroyed by this level 2 spike that you have that is extremely powerful. Now in the early game, honestly, this hero is extremely easy to play, which partly is why I think the win rate is so dang high. On top of that, anytime you are playing this hero, I recommend you go this exact scale build. I think it's really good. The second point in Heavenly Grace is pretty crazy. It goes from 8 base strength that you give them to 18. It's also important to keep in mind that this ability is particularly good if you cast it early on into the fight. You shouldn't use it really as a save anymore, and the reason why is it doesn't really give HP. It gives them like base strength, but it doesn't buff the current strength, right? So it doesn't just give them 360 HP, right? It gives them 360 max HP. So it's basically better the earlier you use it. Essentially, you'll see that here. The Primal Beast TP's in, and you just instantly cast the W with no hesitation. And this enables this guy to also do an insane amount of damage, as Primal Beast is a strength hero. Another thing you can do as OMNIKNIGHT currently is create chaos. Your W giving you 28 strength when you're level 5 basically enables you to run around and tank spells. However, keep in mind, OMNIKNIGHT isn't nearly as tanky as he was in the past. The hero is definitely a bit better in terms of like creating chaos when he had 50% status resist in the early game. One more thing also that is important to note that I actually learned when watching this exact clip here is that it's important to Heavenly Grace yourself just in general before you use Hammer of Purity when trading. The reason why is Hammer of Purity does damage partially just flat, but also a lot of it is based on your base damage, right? And when you give yourself bonus strength, it, well, gives you more base damage. So as you'll see here, he pops his W, pops his E, and it does a quite staggering 116 magic damage, which is pretty significant to me. But then yeah, after that, he's just kind of running into this Pango. It's a really good bait, right? This hero is definitely very good at baiting, and I think that's a big reason also why its win rate is very high. I've personally found that in pubs, if you can play a position 5 that doesn't necessarily get punished for going out of position, and if anything actually gets rewarded for being like somewhat out of position, which is like kind of what baiting is, then you get rewarded and you win MMR. I will say that the biggest downside to OMNIKNIGHT currently is purges though. As you guys probably know, OMNIKNIGHT's W can be purged, so if you're playing against this hero, it's very important to keep in mind that if you have any sort of dispel, you should use it on who gets Heavenly Graced, or at least a lot of the time. Which is why currently in counterpick to OMNIKNIGHT, you'll see Enchantress, sometimes Shadow Demon, and Wex Invoker. These are all good examples of relatively low cooldown spells that just conveniently purge Heavenly Grace and make OMNIKNIGHT frankly somewhat worthless. Also, you can purge your ulti, right, or his ulti, and that is Guardian Angel. So if someone's graced and Guardian Angel, you purge half of his ability. So this is the downside, and in this game in particular, another good example of that is the Brewmaster, the Storm Panda. If you guys don't know, one of its abilities is an AoE basic Dispel that also does damage to summons, but a huge reason it's used is for the Dispel, and you'll see in this game, the Brewmaster specifically is going to target that. He gets thrown up at the beginning of this fight, and then he's going to use it on this Primal Beast, but it instantly gets dispelled. So just be careful. Sometimes, let's say you see a Wex Invoker is on the enemy team, have a little bit of patience on your W. Instead of doing what I said before, which is leading the fight with the W, maybe hold it, right? Hold it till the guy gets cold snapped. When he gets cold snapped, you can purge it. You probably know the tornado is down, and you're going to get a lot more value out of your spells. On top of that, in terms of skill build, it's very simple. Max out the W, then go into the Q. Next, let's talk about mid-game items. So I've seen Fishman play quite a few games now, and I looked at the Dota 2 Pro Tracker builds. And the most common item by far on OMNIKNIGHT is drums. And I like this build. The reason why I like this build, well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, you need to be able to just get close to your teammates, right? Your abilities have really bad cast ranges. Purification and Heavenly Grace are very awkward to cast. So you might be like, oh, Speed, you should buy Aether Lens. Yeah, it's not terrible, but honestly, I don't love Aether Lens for two reasons. Number one, it's more expensive than drums. So drums is an earlier timing, and drums has much better build-up. I personally love Windlace on OMNIKNIGHT. The main thing for this hero as a support right now is, once again, the fact that when you cast Heavenly Grace, it not only casts it on who you use it on, it also casts it on yourself, so you get 2 value. And therefore, a lot of your value in a team fight as OMNIKNIGHT is the fact that you're very tanky, so you can get gone on, right? You're basically a second offlaner, a second frontliner. And Aether Lens does not help you with this. It's counterintuitive, right? It's like a stay in the back item. And now, there is something to say that, you know, if you buy Aether Lens and you W with it, it lets you stay in position, and it forces the assassin heroes to have to jump further to the backline to try to catch you. So there is that, but I think drums is honestly a somewhat broken item, and you'll see Fishman goes Tranquils this game. That's going to later build into the Boots of Bearing, an item that I think is incredibly powerful. Great this game as well, a lot of slows to get rid of, or Drow in particular, and Pango's W, you can just completely get rid of for 1.5 seconds, which is huge. In this upcoming teamfight, I want you guys to look at a couple of things. Number one, I want you to look at the speed in which he casts his Purification and Heavenly Grace. This is very important to me. In teamfights, you should be looking to get off 2 sets of spells in general. That is what I would go for. He also goes for a Heavenly Grace here. But in general, you're looking to go for 2 sets of spells, so don't be afraid to just chuck out your Purification and chuck out your Heavenly Grace early on for that reason. And on top of that, as this fight progresses, because he gets his spells off cooldown, once again, he has them up again. So for instance here, he just looks to W his Bloodseeker, get the HP regen going. That's the main reason why you'd use it there. And on top of that, one thing to note as well is at level 10, you have a 4 second plus 4 second Heavenly Grace duration talent. This talent is pretty insane. It's pretty good, right? Because the duration is 14 seconds, the cooldown is 14 seconds. So you can have this ability permanently on people. It's quite powerful. Or you can, you know, change the person you want to use it on, well, after 14 seconds, which is quite low. And as you'll see in this fight here, it really pays off the fact that he uses his spells as quick as he does, because the Ursa is obviously extremely low, but as a result of his spell casting, it comes up once again. And you'll notice when he casts it on the Ursa, it only gives him about like 80-ish HP. And you might be like, oh, the speed, that's kind of shit. And yeah, it is kind of shit. Once again, you really want to Heavenly Grace people that are either stunned to dispel the stun, right? Because it is still a purge, right? When you cast it on people, it's still a purge. Or you want to cast it on full HP heroes so they're just mega beefy. That's the main value, right? Because 38 strength is 760 HP. So if someone's full HP, you cast it on them and then they get gone on, they have a bonus 760 HP as well as the HP regen. But if someone's low, it's still good to purge them because now this Ursa has 38 HP regen. That's pretty good for 14 seconds. I'm not gonna do the math because I'm from North America, but you can do it for yourself. One thing I really like about Fishman's gameplay is what he does in minute 25 here. I've been wondering if more supports have been doing this or are going to do this. I personally like it a lot. I like what he does here. So he queues up the 4 staff. Huge fan of this item, especially on Omni-Knight. I love the fluffy hat buildup. But he goes fluffy hat from the 4 staff and a bracer. And the bracer gets doubled in minute 25. This gives him a crazy amount of HP, right? It's probably like 300 HP. Yeah, it's like 300 HP. It's really significant. And you can play this hero around just being like somewhat unkillable. You have very high movement speed. He's got a Tumbler's Toy. When he W's himself, he's gonna have like 2600 HP, or W's a teammate. He's still gonna get, right, the buff. He's gonna have like 2600 HP and HP regen. And that's the value of this hero, especially in pubs. If, for instance, you can waste like a Slark's time who's trying to kill you for like 30 seconds in a team fight, man, that's value. All right, he actually bought 2 bracers, guys. I love this guy, man. I love this guy. He's a beast. I love it. I don't know, man. I just love stats. I've always been like such a big stats buyer. So like seeing someone buy 2 bracers at minute 25 is just so funny. It's just, I don't know, brings tears to my eyes. Look at this, guys. Look how crazy this is. He gets a Dispel here onto the Ursa. So he gets the bonus strength. Look at his HP. Look at his HP. This is insane, right? Oh my god. 3000 HP for 14 seconds. Once again, the only issue is the Dispel. But if that doesn't come through, poof, pretty tanky. And really, I think you're going to see the main impact of this guy's item build in this upcoming fight. It's going to seem like he's going to die. He's going to get targeted for a huge portion of the fight. Even as Ursa gets gone on here, not only does he end up saving the Ursa, but he also just lives through this fight for a stupidly large amount of time. Right? Pops the Heavenly Grace, really nice usage there. And right, he's going to get rolled on by Pango. His W gets dispelled. But even though his W gets dispelled, he still is incredibly tanky. Gets his Q off, is going to be able to get another W off, which gets the dispel. It's going to get dispelled again. This Brewmaster matchup is so awful. If you can pick Omni into no purges, man, your life's going to be great. But he keeps getting dispelled. Either way, even without it, he has 14 HP regen. You can see how long it takes them to kill him in this team fight, let alone a team fight where he has the W on himself for like 28 seconds straight. Then it's going to be an absolute disaster for the enemy team, as they're definitely going to overcommit on the Omni-Knight. In terms of the other talents, at level 15, you actually have a very cool minus 30 second Guardian Angel talent. I feel like that's got to be the only level 15 talent in the game that is such a significant cooldown reduction to an ultimate ability. I feel like there's nothing else that even comes close, frankly. But it brings it all the way down to a 90% cooldown. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. It's, yeah, it's very significant. So he has great talents. Like Omni-Knight has some of the best talents into the game. And then at level 20, you have the +4 Heavenly Grace Strength HP regen per stack. Frankly, that's good in like specific games. If they have like a ton of things to dispel, for instance, if you're against like a Veno, I mean, you can give a teammate like 50 strength or like 60 strength in some scenarios. And that is pretty broken. Look at this Chad line, guys. Look at this Chad line. Look at this. Look at this line's HP when he gets W'd. Yeah, 3k HP line, baby. Get in there, bro. Oh, he's actually going in. Holy shit. All right, he didn't go in. All right, and that's going to be all for today's video. Hopefully you guys are inspired to pick a little bit of Omni-Knight. Definitely think this hero is incredibly good right now. And one thing I would like to say is I actually love this hero in combination with int heroes in particular. It sounds funny, but you just give strength now. And yeah, you might be like, oh, but I want to get the damage component. The thing is, in the early game, if you put a maxed Heavenly Grace, and you only have to be level 7, right? If you put a maxed Heavenly Grace on a hero like Leshrac or Pugna, one thing I had recently is I played Pugna, and an Omni-Knight followed me around. It was insane, because a Mars comboed me, and like, I expected to die, right? This Mars freaking arena combos a Pugna. It's like, you would expect the Pugna to die. I'm like some 1000 HP hero. I'm just completely fine, right? Because I had like 2k HP or something crazy. Right? I just lived through it. I got off my life drain, Netherward, everything. Mars died, I didn't, and we turned the fight around. And yeah, so I just think there's so much potential, especially with heroes like Lesh, DP, Pugna, these early game heroes that pump out damage, but often die trying to do so. There's a lot of benefit in picking Omni-Knight with them. So this hero is more flexible than you think. You don't need a Tiny, you don't need an Ursa. It's not like that. You can pick it with a lot of shit. But all right, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one, and I'm out. And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the gameleap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.